I'll talk like a little bit about some of these topics, but I want to do some of these myths first because these ones are, if I don't get to the rest of the stuff, the myths are the most important because these are the things that stick in people's head that they think this is a serious issue or this is something that they're scared of or whatever. And it's not founded really in a lot of solid science, but the myths, they hang around, right? What's the saying? A lie goes around the world twice before the truth something. You know the saying I'm talking about or no? No?
Makes sense.
Yeah. Anyways, so
I don't know what it is.
yeah. So the first one is, as we said, strength training stunts growth and harms growth plates, right? Which is that study I just said. Like it was based on that hard labor in young kids, and it just kind of perpetuated through up until the present day. People still say that to me, and not only is that not true, it's the opposite of true. Like the amount of benefit you can get from starting strength training when you're a child, young, before puberty, not even puberty, before puberty, is crazy. Now, the definition of strength training is where people can get hung up, right? It's like doing strength training does not mean we're doing a max power lift or match snatch or clean and jerk or squat, deadlift, whatever, when they're 4. Like, that's not what that means necessarily, right? And it's funny because the opposite is kind of also true at the other end of the spectrum as you get older. Like I was listening to another podcast the other day, Peter Tia podcast, and he was talking about strength training in elderly people and how like people start strength programs when they're like 70 and how beneficial it is for them that are becoming more frail, increasing bone density and all these kinds of things. Starting at 70, they've never touched a weight, and they start when they're 70, So it's cool how like the arc, like the development arc that he was kind of talking about the podcast too, is like you start young, very general, you kind of start to hyper specialize. And then once you're done playing sports, you kind of like go back to very general again and like finish off at that towards the end of life being very general. Right. So that's kind of interesting. Strength training is only suitable for athletic children. So if you only if you play sports.
Yeah, that's actually stupid.
That's right. And, I noticed this, maybe I've noticed this as well. Like when I do some of these, teach some of these classes, and sometimes I do more general fitness things that are not hyper hockey players, basically, that are doing all hockey stuff and hockey training and off ice and all this stuff. It's just general kids at school. And like the amount of them that can't do just basic movement, like they can't skip, like they can't jump on one leg, and
skipping is a lost art, man.
Well, and like they don't know how to crawl. Like they don't know how to roll. Like if you say like, hey, like roll around and play, kid, like they don't know how to do that. Like, I don't know. Like I remember at school, like trying to do like front rolls and like, right, grabbing and hanging on stuff and like all this, and kids just don't know how to do it. And they can't throw, they can't use their limbs independently. And the reason that's an issue is that it sets them up to be more likely to get hurt later, because they don't know how to get in and out of positions. Like they don't know what it feels like when like you have to grab something down over here and like how to do that the right way. And like, it doesn't even have anything to do with sport at all. It has nothing to do with sport, actually. It has to do with just life. It's just moving around. And so people that don't do that, it's very, it can be very problematic as they get older from like a health perspective generally. So it's not just for athletes. You can cut me off anytime you want.
No, I was listening. I agree with all that. Like, I have a kind of a funny story, but I don't know if I'll tell it right now.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if it fits in here. So, but no, I agree.
That's fine. I just want
the thing is like, yeah, the definition of what is strength training? It's like immediately you go to, right. I assume when people say it's dangerous or you could get hurt, you're immediately going to something that is not what you're even talking about. So like a strength training, resistance training doesn't mean that you have a whole bunch of weight on your back squatting or bench pressing, but very similar to it, you could be just doing box jumps. That's resistance training. It is strength training. It could be, body weight squats. It could be push-ups. Like a push-up is a bench press. So that's why I always laughed at people. Like even when I was young, I'm like, when people would say that, not when I was young, but when I was training guys and when I was really learning my fitness stuff, when I heard people say, well, yeah, he's too young to work out. I'm like, what are you talking about? I've done push-ups my whole life. I've done sit-ups my whole life. I've jumped, I've ran up hills and stuff. It's just a different, because it doesn't have a barbell on your back. Like, no, sorry. If you do a squat, a body weight squat, and mom and dad say, well, yeah, that's okay. Or coach says, that's okay. So now if I put a 12-pound or 25-pound weight in front of plate in front of any squats, is that okay or is that bad? It's only 12 more pounds. Okay, well, what if I put a 45-pound bar on his back and even a safety squat where your hands are here? Is that bad now or is that good? Like, what is that? Where has it become, oh, that's not good? Well, now if you go in there and say, okay, the first week, well, you can't do it anyways. Like, you're not progressing to a 135-pound squat the first time you ever squat anyways. So it's actually not dangerous. So then, and I always said that when people say, well, you can't lift weights, like, you look at a bench press. Okay, so what is a bench press? You're laying there and you're pushing your arms up. Well, just flip yourself over, put your toes on the ground and put your chest to the ground and push yourself up. It's a bench press. So now if I put a 25-pound weight on my back while I do the bench press, is that bad? It's the same exercise. So it's a bench press as a push-up, but then it's a matter of, are you stupid? But to say it's dangerous is like, it's not very good advice. Like, I could say, like, kids that we worked out with that started working out, my son, kids that have been around, like, I didn't even question my son. Like, he was curious. The trap bar deadlift, can I try? Imagine, no. Yeah, of course you can try. And then he does the pattern and the pattern is bad or it's good. And you go, oh, okay, well, or he tries to lift it with his arms like this. It's like, no, he learned a pattern. And you become a better athlete.
Well, and that
throwing a ball.
That's a really good point because you do these movements every day anyways, right? Like, you bend down to tie your shoe, you bend down to pick something up, you turn this way, you're going upstairs, you're going downstairs, you're doing all these different things that will require different types of movement. So you do it, and it's like, okay, so if it's okay to do a body weight squat, like I'm watching some of my family, extended family, they have like young kids that are just like learning to walk, right? And they're just learning to get up and all this stuff. And I'm so fascinated by, like, they sit at the bottom of a squat so perfectly. Like,
yeah, that's the natural. Yeah.
They flawlessly sit at the bottom of a squat. Like, the form is perfect. It's like, how is that possible? And it's so amazing to watch. But then I look at that, I'm like, okay, so that movement is fine. Like, everyone agrees that that's fine because it's a kid just naturally doing it. Okay. So if they hold 1 pound, is it okay? If they hold 2, if they hold 3, if they hold 4, where's the line?
Or if you have a teddy bear in one hand and you go do it, are you too unbalanced? You got to balance it out with another one. Yeah,
exactly.
Like,
right.
Yeah,
so and that kind of leads to the next one. So this says that children should wait till around age 12 to begin strength training. And I use that puberty line as a mark because in my head, when I'm talking about strength training, which this is inaccurate, this has actually now changed how I'm going to describe it. I just talk about strength training as like focused weightlifting. Yeah, right. Like that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying strength training. Like, really getting into being a competent weightlifter. That's what I mean when I say, like, yeah, around puberty-ish, you start to get the hormones, you get a little bit more benefit, like yada yada. But that doesn't mean before that do nothing, right? And the things that you're doing before that are still strength training, right? So it's kind of changed my perspective a little bit on how I describe what it is that you're supposed to be doing.
Like, the part changes that just using the word puberty?
Or using the word strength training. Like, when people ask, when should you start training? Like, I would typically say, start getting into the gym like when you're around puberty. That's what I would say.
First body hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get in there. No, really. Get in there.
And that's what I remember you said that to my dad too, whatever. And like, when I'm saying that and giving that advice, what I'm talking about is the focused, like, weightlifting with purpose. But to be more precise, when we're talking about strength training, that should be happening all the time. Like, it should be happening in various forms, which I'll get into in a little bit, about just like learning movement. That is all part of strengthening, right? So being more precise with my terminology, it's going to change how I describe it a little bit when people ask the question, because it's not just when you're 12. It's not like do nothing until you're 12, right? It's
what
like,
if you're 11 years, 11 months, and 12 days?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Strength training causes girls to develop bulky muscles. That's another myth. That one's actually funny because a lot of women say that too. They're scared of like getting bulky. And this is one
A
that
lot of guys say that.
yeah, they don't want to get too
I
bulky.
want to get bulky. That's why I don't lift.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
that's why.
Yeah, that's why.
Well, that one's funny to me too because you would know this as well, and I knew this before hearing of this, obviously, but like, it's really hard to put on a lot of muscle, right? It's so hard. It's actually so hard to do. So whenever men or women, like you're saying, they say, I don't want to get super bulky, or I'm scared of getting super bulky. The high school girls say this a lot as well. Like, I don't want to get super bulky. It's like, it's actually really hard. It's actually really, really hard and takes a really long time for you to get really bulky, you know? And so like doing some strength training, especially at their age, a little bit older, doing a little more sports stuff. It's like managing the heavy weights is not something that's going to make you super bulky. And like the heavy weights are more strength anyways, not so much hypertrophy growth style, right? So
unless you're like a straight power lifter or Olympic lifter and it's like heavy, fast reps, low, whatever it is, you get an ass the size of a freaking Volkswagen on you, and which is good for sports. But
and it's the same with the guys too. It's the same thing. Like you're not going to get that big, gross, like huge muscle ridiculousness. It's hard to do that. Like you have to do that very focused, specific style training for a long period of time to get that. So
you got to work really hard, which a lot of people are allergic to that, to the work and to the focus and the dedication and the eating and all that. So anyways, I digress.
Strength training leads to early or delayed puberty, both. As one of the that's a big myth, yeah, which is not true at all.
So if you start lifting, if you do strength training, you could hit puberty early, or it might be late. So it could be like depends when you hit it.
Yeah. And then the last one was strength training requires expensive equipment or professional trainers. That's another big one. So I think that was actually more or less straight from the episode, those 6 myths, which I think is, I wanted to make sure I hit those because those are things that are very common. I hear those kinds of things all the time. And it's important that people understand what's more true or not true. We argued about truth the other day of like, how do you know it's just what someone says and all that shit.
But come to basic understanding that we can agree that this is a starting point.
That's right. So
that was a good talk, by the way.
It was a good talk.